We had wars, we saw bloodshed, and we heard cries for help.
Death seems like a better option.
This is the story of the formation of the first republic in the Francosphere. For over a millennium, people from around the Francosphere followed and worshipped Franco I. Everything he taught long ago was never questioned by anyone, either because of respect or fear. But breaking that trend, a group of people from the East voiced their doubts about the religion. But their voices went quiet when their heads were sliced off their body in the name of the great Franco. Then, a notice was issued by then religious ruler Franco XVIII, saying that anyone who disrespects the followers of the great has to choose between silence and death. Hearing this news, hundreds of people came together in support of the executed and marched across the eastern countries, chanting they have our respect as they shed no blood. But these people were brought down with force and were burnt alive as the words "Franco is our God and he wants you dead" were echoed by the people. An anonymous writer with the pseudonym Rain Anchor stressed that attacking non-believers because of their faith is an abandonment of the ideology of freedom that was stressed by the great Franco himself. After this incident, the people close to the protesters were silently hunted down. They feared that the idea of revenge would build up within their hearts. Fathers who went out to buy milk not only came back without milk, but also without a soul. But eventually, this news of the silent hunt reached the ears of everyone. All of them started hiding as life was most important. Fear and stress were building up in all their hearts, but a strong voice calmed them down and gave them hope. That was the voice of Marcus Bilbiza.
All of you who stand around me, I know why you are here. They have taken someone you have loved. They have created a pool of blood with your loved ones just because they had their doubts. But you still don't know what to do. You want to strike back, you want to spill blood, but something is pulling you back. When the adrenaline rush gives you incredible strength, there is a voice that stops you. This voice warns you about the consequences of going against God Himself, a God that was worshipped by your fathers and forefathers, a God that was called for by everyone when things didn't go their way. But ask yourself, does God not want me to live in peace? Does God not want me to live in harmony? Or does God not want me to live at all? Just because of asking a few questions that challenge Him. I don't think God is that cruel. I don't. I know what you are thinking. Then what do we do? What's the point? Well, let me tell you. I have not called for your attention to fight against God. That's not the point. If you want to, that's fine, but that's not the point. We are here to fight for our freedom. The freedom that has been denied because we think different. Freedom to speak out our ideas and views. Freedom to walk around. And most importantly, freedom to breathe. All we can do is fight. And I am prepared to lead this fight. When they come to slice our heads, we will resist with all our strength. We could lose our life, but considering how we live, death seems like a better option. If we lose this battle, we lose our life and nothing changes around us. But if we win, we will get our freedom. We will have a place to live free of our stress and a place for our children to grow. This is a do or die situation. So let's go and do it!
Hearing about this meeting, Franco XVIII ordered a group of soldiers to surround the perimeter, covering the 50-kilometer radius of the meeting place. Spies were sent to find out the identities of the people who attended the meeting. "Kill them on the spot," that was the message. But Bilbiza didn't hesitate to act again. Swords were sharpened, guns were loaded. It was then secretly sent to his followers. "Be ready," their note said. But that wasn't the only note that was being sent by him. Franco the 18th received a note too. "Don't hide, we are ready for war." The note was signed with blood, the blood of one of his soldiers. Reading this note, Franco the 18th turned red with rage. Due to his enormous wealth and power, no one has ever thought of challenging him. This was a first in history, but he did not want to make this the first of many. He immediately called for Killian, his army general. "Rally the troops, I want their blood flowing through the streets." On the other side, Bilbiza's men were also getting ready. They bought every household weapon they could find. A few guns were arranged. However, one thing was certain. Matching their opponent in strength was going to be impossible. But Bilbiza didn't want his people to surrender. He used his words to inject hope. They were fighting for freedom. They were fighting for a future. Unlike the king's army, Bilbiza's men and women needed this. It was their only hope. But what they lacked in size and armory, they had in heart and desire. Before the war, Marcus Bilbiza uttered his famous words addressing the world.
I wanted to start this message by addressing everyone as my dear friends. But my friends don't recognize me anymore. The ones who do are either hiding to protect their lives or are willing to die for the freedom of their people. That is why we need this war. We don't want to spill the blood of anyone, but now we have to. So if any of the people listening to this message lose anything or anyone due to this war, I am sorry. But remember, we didn't start this.
As per the agreement, both sides met at a deserted plain in the north of the Nulian Empire. On the right, Bilbiza's army stood straight with their sharpened swords and knives. 20 out of their 300 men raised their bow and a few positioned themselves with their guns. Their gaze was targeted straight to their opposition, who consisted of 2,000 men who were well suited up with their armor. Most of them had a gun in their hands, and swords were strapped to their hips. They eyed their opposition with pity. Both sides wanted their justice, but one of them will have to claim it. A bullet was shot into the air, and the war began. Bilbiza's men charged as fast as they could to the opposite side.
Sprint to the other side and mix up. This will force them to fight with their sword.
Before they could reach, several of their men were shot and killed, but that did not stop the group. They ran straight to the Francos with their raised sword and swung with all their power before the other side wielded their sword. However, the whole army was soon ready. Therefore, the dead bodies of the Francoists were used as human shields by the Bilbiza army. Their lack of training was evident from their technique, but their pure desire for freedom made their strikes strong and fierce. Bilbiza did the same. The strength of his strikes made them go off balance, and an extra swing of the blade was enough to take the life of anyone who came face to face. He looked around to see how his men did, but he did not see what he wanted. Many of his men were falling, arrows poked out of their bodies, and blood sprinkled. Looking to his left, he saw archers hiding on top of a mountain.
Cover your left!
He yelled to alert his people. They shifted their shields and minimized the effect of the archers. However, they were left exposed to the enemy up front. They had to use their sword to defend and attack, but their attack started becoming weaker after carrying the weight of their human shields. Some dropped them and searched to find a shield from the enemy, but during this gap, many were killed. Both armies now stood in a pool of blood. The grip of their foot started to loosen. As time started to pass, Killian got more and more annoyed. He just wanted this to be over. "Target Bilbiza," he ordered with the comfort of his own protected position. As Bilbiza went on slaughtering his rivals, the people he rallied for also started to be slimmer in numbers. Now he was almost surrounded. As the number of Francois around him increased, he found it harder to focus. Suddenly, a heavy blade cut his back. His strength weakened. He turned around to face the attacker, but before he could raise his sword, he was cut once again. Bilbiza was now on his knee. Seeing this, one of his men took his gun and shot at the enemy's horses and elephants. The animals were frightened and moved aimlessly. As a result, its riders lost control. When this moment stole the attention of the opposition, the few people that remained in the Bilbiza army charged towards their leader and killed the enemies that surrounded him. They carried his body and ran as fast as they could. The opposition sprinted and attempted to catch up with them, but Mikhail from the Bilbiza army took a gun from his pocket and fired at them. Still, some of them were catching up and his ammo was almost empty, so he stopped on his tracks and attacked the army with his sword. He ended up giving his life as a result. When Marcus Bilbiza was brought back to their place, they noticed a crowd. They stepped back fearing it was a precaution taken by the state to execute any returning fighters. However, the crowd only wanted to fight beside him. Bilbiza's words had conquered their heart. They trained and waited until he regained his composure and strength. After that, they got ready to fight another battle. However, according to popular demand, Bilbiza was not joining this time. Their leader's health should not be risked as it would affect the movement. This battle also ended in a defeat. However, more and more people sympathized with them and joined their side. Even Franco the 18th Palace was growing tired of this war. Even though there was no clear evidence, it was reported that a group of soldiers conspired to end the life of the king. As the tension started brewing and wars continued, the king had no choice but to accept the demands of Bilbiza and his soldiers. In the year 1520, Republic of Bilbiza was formed and Marcus Bilbiza was elected as the president by a convincing margin. His people could now live free. They had the freedom to speak out their ideas and views, freedom to walk around, and a place for their children to grow. But for how long?